A concise answer. The so-called truth of things can refer to the actual phenomenon of things, or it can refer to the true essence of things. Seeing through the phenomenon to the essence is a process of sublimation from phenomenon truth to essence truth. An apple falling to the ground is a phenomenon, but gravity is its essence. Truth, however, refers to a true principle, not a real object. Therefore, truth refers to essence truth, that is, the laws of nature. Phenomenon truth is not yet truth, it is merely a real phenomenon. It is only the truth at the level of phenomenon expression, i.e., the real object and the real event happened, not the truth at the level of substantive reason in this event. The true phenomenon and the true essence are two different concepts. I believe that only the logical methodology of neo-rationalism is a scientifically effective method for discovering truth. I can prove it with direct factual evidence, or I can prove it with indirect logical evidence through logical inference. Both are convenient. The empirical method of empiricism is effective in discovering phenomenon truth, but it is inefficient for sublimating phenomenon truth to essence truth. Therefore, we should use its strengths and avoid its weaknesses to let it play its role. Brief explanation. In science, there are two main categories of methods used to discover truth: the empirical method of empiricism and the logical method of neo-rationalism. The former is the standard method and procedure that dominates the scientific community, while the latter is a newly emerging logical methodology of neo-rationalism that has challenged the dominance of empiricist methodology in recent years. The empirical method of empiricist positivism is objective and scientific in discovering the reality of objective phenomena. However, its method for elevating from phenomenon to essence is essentially a method of guess and try. Its standard operating procedure involves at least two occasions of guessing. This limitation stems from the inherent flaws of the empiricist methodology. While the logical methodology of neo-rationalism relies entirely on the laws of nature, its standard operating procedure uses natural laws at least twice. The very nature of logic makes it not a tool for discovering the reality of phenomena, but rather a tool for discovering the truth of essence. It is used to complete the cognitive process of elevating from phenomenon to essence. The logical methodology of neo-rationalism is a modern development of the ancient Greek syllogistic philosophical method, making it more complete, more scientific, and more practical. It can be used to discover new knowledge and new laws of nature across all time and space. It is not limited by the physical existence of the discoverer. It proves that practice is not the sole method or standard for discovering and verifying truth. In its ability to discover essence truth, it is limitless. This means that intelligent life can approach absolute truth infinitely without being limited by the finiteness of its own physical existence, in time and space. Truth specifically refers to essence truth because it is the principle of truth. Phenomenon truth, on the other hand, refers specifically to the truth of phenomena. Phenomena are perceived through the senses, while the principle of truth is intangible. It is the inherent relationship between things. It is unearthed from behind phenomena through logical reasoning. Therefore, the discovery of phenomenon truth relies on practical experience. The discovery of essence truth relies on logical reasoning to dig it out from behind phenomena. The two methods should be divided according to their strengths. Division of labor must be accompanied by cooperation to produce effective results. Therefore, I suggest that the empirical method of empiricism be used specifically for discovering phenomenon truth, while the logical method of neo-rationalism be used specifically for discovering essence truth. The two methods should cooperate, each leveraging its strengths and compensating for its weaknesses. I am not referring to two teams, but rather to a team using different methods at different stages of discovery to solve problems of different natures. Empirical methods can be used to discover phenomenon truth, while logical methods are best used to discover essence truth. Both are indispensable and cannot replace each other. Further explanation. An axiom, as defined in science, is a known natural law that has been scientifically proven. Because this known natural law doesn't require reproving each time it's used, it can be treated as a self-evident axiom. This known natural law can then be used as a premise to deduce a conclusion using logical methods. Logic itself is the natural law governing the inherent relationships between things. This conclusion is indirect evidence of essence truth. This is the basic form of a syllogism in logic, and modern neo-rationalist epistemology has only developed it slightly, enabling it to deduce new true knowledge, i.e., new essence truth. This is an effective logical process in science from phenomenon to essence. It can replace the old standard procedure of empirical science as a new standard scientific procedure. The standard procedure of empirical science is problem, hypothesis, observation, and experiment, obtaining the phenomenon truth, conjecture, to obtain the perceived essence truth. We can see that two key operational processes here employ guesswork. Hypothesis is the scientific euphemism for guesswork, and observation and experimentation can only yield the phenomenon truth. When it's necessary to elevate this phenomenon truth to an essence truth, the sublimation from phenomenon to essence, guesswork is still used. Although most scientists are highly talented, using guesswork is always unscientific, unreliable, and inefficient. This is why scientific progress has been stagnant for the past century. Some typical examples are, the discovery of redshift leads to the assumption that its cause is spatial expansion. This cause, lacking scientific proof but based solely on mainstream scientific opinion, is then used as a premise, axiom, to further speculate, as reasoning, that the universe is expanding, and since the redshift increases with distance, it's further hypothesized that the universe is accelerating its expansion and will eventually experience heat death. Though in reality, the decrease in spectral frequency is caused by the energy loss of photons during their journey. Two identical atomic clocks, one on the ground and the other on a satellite in Earth orbit, showed different times. This leads to the assumption that speed affects time. This reasoning denies the scientific axiom that time, a non-material phenomenon, is immutable, and instead uses an unproven assumption, that gravity alters space and speed alters time, as a basis for speculation. The satellite's high speed shortens time on it. In reality, the weightlessness and cold on the satellite slow down the atomic vibration oscillation frequency, causing the change in the expression of time. This is essentially using conjecture to prove conjecture. And it's a circular self-fulfilling proving. Contrary to popular belief, all so-called direct factual evidence, obtained through observation and experimentation, is merely a relative truth of phenomena. The sublimation from this phenomenon truth to essence truth doesn't happen naturally. It cannot be obtained through further observation and experimentation. The empirical scientific method relies on conjecture for this step. A hypothesis, a standard operating procedure in standard scientific procedures, is itself a conjecture. The so-called factual evidence obtained through observation and experimentation is also still a phenomenon truth. This phenomenon truth cannot directly prove the essence truth conceived by the hypothesis. Often, scientists at this point resort to a subjective interpretation, believing it to be self-evident, but which is actually still a conjecture, to establish an explanation as the obtained essence truth. Because this process from the directly obtained phenomenon truth to this perceived essence truth is illogical, the resulting conclusion is often erroneous. In reality, the empirical scientific methodology of empiricism cannot scientifically obtain essence truth. All its steps from phenomenon to essence rely on conjecture, hypotheses are conjectures, and the process of elevating the result of the observation and experimentation from the phenomenon to its essence still uses conjecture. Therefore, the empirical scientific methodology of empiricism is unscientific for discovering essence truth, it is only suitable for discovering the truth of phenomena. The reason why scientists' conjectural methods have a much higher success rate than statistical random probability is that non-explicit logical thinking in humans operates subconsciously and instinctively, and many past discoveries by geniuses were largely driven by these factors. This form of thinking is crucial for biological survival. It enables rapid choices, which is vital and useful in the competitive environment of nature. In martial arts, speed is paramount, slowness means death. However, this is far from sufficient for science. The high complexity and precision of science require explicit logical thinking, while the non-explicit logical thinking we've acquired through long-term evolution, in its subconscious and instinctive forms, is inadequate. Here, the correctness of the thought process is paramount, and to ensure this correctness, the thought process can take longer. This ensures the efficiency of scientific thinking. The empirical scientific methodology should stop at the stage of discovering the reality of phenomena, allowing the logical methods of neo-rationalism to discover the essence truth behind the phenomenal reality. The same person and the same research team applied empirical scientific methods in the stage of discovering the reality of phenomena and applied the logical methods of neo-rationalism in the stage of discovering the essence truth. The logical methodology of neo-rationalism is a development of the logical method of syllogism. The premise of syllogism, that is, the so-called self-evident axiom, is often a property of a real phenomenon. Its logical method is to find the commonalities of this real phenomenon to prove that another real phenomenon also has the same property. The logical methodology of neo-rationalism takes known, scientifically proven essence truth, i.e., laws of nature, as premises, i.e., axioms, and uses scientific logic, i.e., the intrinsic relationships between known things that have been scientifically proven, i.e., laws of nature, to deduce an essence truth in space and time that the physical existence of the inferred cannot reach. This essence truth is obtained indirectly through logical methods. However, because this logical method itself is based on the intrinsic relationships between things that have been scientifically proven, and because the essence truth on which this deduction is based is also a scientifically proven essence truth, this indirectly obtained evidence possesses necessary scientific legal legitimacy. It must also be an essence truth. Example of applying the logical methodology of neo-rationalism, observing the redshift phenomenon. 1. Question: how is this phenomenon caused? 2. Premise, i.e., axiom: changes in the state of matter are related to the interactions between matter and are unrelated to the existence of non-matter. 3. Logical reasoning: redshift is a manifestation of the decrease in photon energy, therefore, this phenomenon expresses the decrease in photon energy. 4. What is the reason for the decrease in photon energy? The existence of photons themselves does not involve energy self-consumption. This must be due to energy loss caused by the interaction of photons with other material media. The main material media in outer space are gas clouds, because we can observe redshift, proving that dust clouds are not the primary material media causing redshift. Therefore, the cause of redshift is mainly the resistance R of the gas cloud material media, which causes a decrease in the photon's vibrational energy. Actually, the resistance in the photon's linear motion direction causes a loss of its linear kinetic energy cm, but its vibrational energy mx, i.e., hf, spontaneously and instantaneously replenishes its linear kinetic energy, keeping it at a constant mc. Therefore, when photon energy is lost, you can only see the loss of its vibrational energy mx. The only observable phenomenon is a decrease in its vibrational frequency f. This energy change is expressed as a redshift f in its spectral frequency. 5. Conclusion: the redshift phenomenon is caused by a decrease in photon energy. This decrease in photon energy is mainly caused by the resistance of the gas cloud to its linear motion. 6. Application of new knowledge as a conclusion: from the redshift, new knowledge can be calculated, logically deduced photon energy loss F equals mx, h, which can also be used to estimate distance d equals, an average velocity v equals, delta F equals RTH, delta E equals, etc. In reality, all essence truth can only be obtained indirectly through logical methods. What people can directly obtain is only the phenomenon truth perceived by their senses. Despite advancements in sensory tools, what you obtain is still merely phenomenon truth. This is because the senses can only directly perceive the phenomena of things, while the essence of things lies in the logical relationships hidden behind these phenomena. Your senses can only directly perceive phenomena, not relationships. People often rely on experience and prevailing societal views to spontaneously and automatically assume this relationship as self-evident essence truth. This is often erroneous. Regardless of the error rate, this method itself is unscientific. This method of elevating from phenomena to essence is unscientific, unreliable, and inefficient. This is the main reason for the stagnation of scientific development over the past century, dominated by empirical scientific methodology. Meanwhile, the rapid technological progress of the past century stems from the fact that technology is a practical methodology that can be directly proven through experience. You can directly build technological progress using experience. Science here serves as a stepping stone and toolbox for technology. You can first create something, make it functional, and the reasons behind it are not important at this stage. You can leave that for later. Therefore, it is often said that technology is built up over time and with money. The empirical scientific methodology of empiricism can be used as the main means in the early stages of scientific development to accumulate the knowledge for phenomena, but in the later stages, the logical methodology of neo-rationalism should be the primary approach. This is because early scientific development has accumulated a wealth of phenomenal and substantive truths, which can be used by the logical methodology of neo-rationalism to efficiently discover more essence truth. The logical methodology of neo-rationalism is extremely efficient at discovering essence truth. Humanity now needs this efficiency to save itself. Currently, because the fundamental contradictions in the operation of the natural order run man-made social systems have reached an explosive stage, it is very difficult for our understanding of the objective world to keep up with this rate of development. The logical methodology of neo-rationalism can help us achieve the necessary high efficiency.